So we're supposed to do. Well, screw it. I totally screwed up the graphics. Hi guys, that was us. Usually I have the big graphic at the beginning, but like that. But instead we did this bit. My name is John Polnick. I'm the host of Bid Nerds, the show you're watching. We're the daily nerd on the most interesting cars and bids, and bring a trailer. Along with my partner Michael Deeb, coming to you live from San Francisco Bay. How are you, Michael Deeb?
Excellent, my man. It's pouring down rain here in San Francisco, and it's actually dark. I've got every light on in the house just so I can see my computer. It's really dark outside. It's crazy. It's just some morbid weather, but otherwise everything is fantastic.
Well, that weather system will be here in Las Vegas, where I'm at on the Las Vegas Strip, in about a day. We're anticipating that coming in about 3 o'clock in the morning.
It's going to dump.
Might have to go up to Mount Charleston and do some more snow driving in the old manual transmission Cayenne before it goes on doing a trailer. We do put our money where our mouth is here on Bid Nerds. I am selling my 2008 Porsche Cayenne 6-speed manual.
Wow.
Base on Bring a Trailer without a reserve. Is that crazy?
Without a reserve. I think so.
Yeah.
Live without a net.
We will see how that works out for JP. Probably not so well, but nobody ever said I was the smartest guy in the room.
Closed course professional driver.
Do not attempt on your own. Guys, this is the channel where we nerd out. We pick the most interesting cars of the day, not necessarily the most expensive or the best or the worst, but just the most kind of discussion worthy cars of the day. Sometimes they're the most expensive ones, but typically we try to find the stuff that has the most conversation worthiness, and we pick those cars and we make predictions about what we think they will sell for when they hit the auction block, and we keep track of those numbers. First thing we do on every episode is go over the numbers from the day before. Before we get to that, you probably, if you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe, like, and share. You probably saw a thumbnail for this Factory 5 Shelby Roadster replica that's coming up on the I believe on Bring a Trailer today, so we'll be talking about that very soon. But first, let's go over yesterday's numbers quickly and see how things went. You're having a pretty good week, but I think I'm starting to catch up. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, you are. So our star car yesterday, JP, if you remember, was that absolutely gorgeous 1955 Ford Thunderbird.
Yes.
This was a really cool example because it came with both the convertible top and the factory hardtop. It had been refurbished some years ago, but for what is a little bit older refurbishment or restoration, this car looks like it just came out of the shop. I think it looked beautiful, super clean. Still underneath, this car's never been driven in inclement weather. The paint looks wet almost, and the interior is just beautiful. I actually really like the very I don't know, it's like a throwback era where they have those little spun dashboards with like the little sand marks on it, and then it's got the two-tone interior, the chrome on the black paint, the white wall tires. Everything about this car is as cool as a Thunderbird can be, and take that for what it's worth. JP, this was a very interesting bid so far for the week. I said $64,000. Now our car was at like $43,000 when we were looking at it. And I will admit to doing a teeny bit of homework to try and get a grasp on the values of this car. And then I look at where it's located, look at the condition, look at the action on the website, and I conclude, okay, $64,000, which is a solid bid. And then you, audience, don't do any homework. You listen to me and then trust your gut. You go, yeah, maybe a little less than that. I'll go 60,000. And I feel like I studied my bid and you pulled yours out of your ass and you got a goddamn Yahtzee on that one because that car sold for 60,000. JP, I can't even keep track. I think you have like 7 Yahtzees so far, and I've got 1. That's amazing. You nailed it. Well done to you.
Well, here's the thing. It's because I correctly noted that it is the most beautiful American car ever made, including everything else. Maybe a GT40 would be the only exception but that's including whatever Chevelles or Mustangs you can pull out of your butts.
Cousin Mark has something to say about that.
Yeah, let me just, Cousin Mark, you watching? I'm looking at you, buddy. You're Chicken She. Chicken She, right there. That's you. I'm pointing at you, Cousin Mark. Say it to my face on YouTube. Put those comments. If you're going to call me out on the channel, and let's have it out there, because I'm right and you're wrong. Let's see what you got. Let's see what you got. That's great. I truly do love this car. It's again not exactly something that's high on my list of things to get, but when I saw it, it just spoke to me, and I would love to see one of those in the garage. But beautiful American car. It probably doesn't drive very well, but looks just great going down the Vegas Boulevard.
Whatever. Yeah, I'm only getting coffee in that thing. You're not taking it on a rally.
Right.
On cars and bids, we looked at an Audi S4, 2007 Audi S4 in Imola yellow with a 6-speed manual. Car had 133,000 miles on it, but it was really clean. And I thought pretty strongly of this car. So I said 18,500. You were a little bearish on it and said 17,500. You're not a big fan of Audis anyways. JP, for the record, and we'll have to get our research team to correct me if I'm wrong, at $18,007, this car sold, and I beat you by $7. I believe this is the closest car we've ever had, because I beat you. But my margin of victory, not $100, $500. Margin of victory to me was $7. So that could be that. We should put a little asterisk by that one, because that's the closest we've been. $7 between us, and I won that one.
$7 away from a draw. That is amazing. So which would have resulted in no points. We call it points in bid nerd speak, but.
Yeah, we keep a tally. On Bring a Trailer, we went to Canada for the 1977 Porsche 930 Turbo Carrera. This is the cool one, in my opinion, JP. This is the pre-intercooler car, not a 3.3 liter, a 3 liter, 4-speed manual, super tall first gear, limited slip differential, air conditioning. I mean, this car was state of the art and blindingly fast back in 1977. Despite being in Canada, this car had lived most of its life in the United States. I think it ran up to Canada after a Bring a Trailer sale in 2016. And so we assume this car is probably going to come back. That being said, I still thought it would bring about $123,000. You said $120,000. This car was bid to $100,000 and did not sell. JP, I still think our bids were around the value. The car just didn't find a suitor in the winter that wanted to bring it down from Canada. I hope somebody brings this home to the United States. I'd love to see it in Vegas. Anyway,
that is a beautiful car. All right.
Really, really cool car. And then a 2003 Audi RS6, an 86,000 mile, no nonsense example. I was the belief that this car could bring as much as 55,000, but thought, at this time of the year, maybe 21. You were a little softer, said 19. This car sold for $18,250. I'd say well bought, despite JP poo-pooing on this era of Audis as being unreliable. For $18,000, I would have taken a chance on that one. But I'm expecting a car in the mail any minute now. So
you would have taken a turd nerd.
I would have, that was JP's second win of the day, third win of the day. And then we wrap it up, believe it or not, with the 1995 Wrangler Sahara. I know nothing about these cars, but apparently I know more than JP. I guess 9,500 on our car. JP went under me at 9,000. What was it about this car, JP? You saw the rust. This car brought $12,250, which, according to you, is all the damn money. Yeah. Was it because those seats are so rare? This particular example.
I think it was just straight up the miles. I mean, really, the corrosion that was on the bottom. There was nothing. I mean, we noted the corrosion, and it seemed maybe like it was like they were trying to cover up a situation where the corrosion may have been worse than it appeared. But honestly, for an East Coast vehicle, the corrosion was not out of line. I mean, it really was. In fact, if anything, it was less than you would expect on something like this, where this car lives. I don't
Pennsylvania or New Jersey.
Yeah, somewhere in the Northeast, and I don't know who wound up buying it, But if you are in, I suspect whoever bought this is probably also in the Northeast, and you're just not going to find a 65,000 mile YJ Jeep in that area. So yes, that's a lot of money for one of those, but they are creeping up, and a Sahara with the low doors and the rare and
cool
perfect interior so I was soft on it, probably more because that corrosion kind of freaked me out a little bit, but not an absurd number for it to wind up at. I've seen these go as high as 15 in perfect condition.
There you go. Well, so I had 2 wins on the day. JP had 3, including his Yahtzee on the Ford Thunderbird that he picked. Nicely done. JP's back in the game. And away
back in business. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, that was yesterday's news. Now it's time for today's cars, the most interesting cars on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer, the most interesting cars of the day on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer, and sometimes P-Car market as well. Let's go to this unbelievable looking Shelby replica car. This thing is, but this isn't just any replica. This is something special, right?
But these are kits, right? So, if you got $150,000 burning a hole in your pocket, JP, Shelby and one other company make official, like, in other words, they're signed off on by the Shelby America, that continuation models. That's not what this is. When you order this is like ordering a furniture from IKEA. This shows up in a box on your doorstep strapped to a pallet, and then you get to build, so kit, as I understand, AP, is around $35,000, and this kit is a 2020 kit. But then you have to build it, and so if you're a Dwayne Wick and you or Doug Nielsen and you can build this from scratch, I'm guessing it'll take you a couple of weeks, maybe a month to put this whole together. It's
Do you think you can be done that quickly? Really?
Well, but both those guys have a little bit of free time and a lift, right? They can do it. You and I would take us a year to get this thing, and it wouldn't be right when we finished it.
Never finish it ever.
Yeah. But I'm guessing, how do you equate those hours of 8 hours a day for a couple of months? I mean, you're talking another $35,000 in labor at least to put this thing together. This one is complete. So in other words, somebody bought it, somebody built it, and it's got 500 miles on it. The thing to me of note is this is using a supercharged 4.6 liter V8. So this thing should make massive horsepower. And of course, it looks exactly like a Cobra, but this is not a Cobra replica. I mean, I guess you could say it's a Cobra replica, but it's not trying to pass itself off as a Cobra, which is what the continuation versions are. And that's why they bring way more money. Our car is offered out of Farmingville, New York, and it's sitting with 4 hours to go at $39,000, which simply covers the cost of the kit, but not the cost of the labor. So to me, this car needs to be in the $70,000 range for this guy to break even. Otherwise, he's just unloading it, or he absolutely built it himself and he doesn't care about his time and hours, and he's just getting his money back. So these are unusual to me, JP. I don't feel strongly about them. I like either the real thing or something that's a little more faithful. I know this is right in your wheelhouse because you love the replica 356s and RS Spiders and things like that, but these have just been—they're so diluted. And it's when I see somebody who doesn't know cars lose their mind with, oh my God, look at that Cobra. I'm like, that's not a Cobra. But I can tell by looking at it. The wrong size wheels, the wrong bumpers, the wrong lights. It doesn't have the right steering wheel. It's easy for me, but for most other people, they see it and it's like they saw a unicorn, and I'm like, oh my God. So it's just funny to me. Anyway, I'm really turning on this thing. What do you think? What's your feeling about this?
Yeah, I mean, you say I'm a replica guy. Look, sure. I like a 356 replica because getting a real 356 probably not going to happen, and they are super, super fun if they're done well. This car, I think, is neat as hell. A real one or a fake one really doesn't do it for me. It doesn't, I mean, I don't I don't want this car at all. I would never buy one of these. If I was in the tax bracket that I could afford a real one, it's not on my list.
Right.
I just don't care. I am not a boomer, and this is all boomer all day. So I mean, the value of cars like this are rapidly depreciating because we talk about it all the time how nobody young wants this car. And people do lose their minds, but they're always boomers, or they're people who are like, okay, that's a sports car. I will say that I appreciate like the driving experience in one of these. If you want a raw, nasty, violent driving experience, there is nothing more break your neck, probably kill you. I mean, just like I remember the first time driving one, just going, what the hell? And it wasn't even a supercharged one. It probably had 400 horsepower or something like that. And that thing was just, I mean, I ached days later because that car just snapped my neck when I hit it. So, I mean, from pure stupid American cheap muscle car fun for $40,000-$50,000, what are you going to get that's going to be this, just sheer nastiness? I sure wish they would put some period correct looking wheels on this thing. Those wheels.
I know. It's
just destroying this car.
It's so sad. And here's the thing, JP, the real ones are getting more and more scarce, like authentic Shelby Cobras. And they are actually continuing to escalate in value. But the fake ones, every month, there's more of these cars on the road. This is probably, arguably, the most replicated vehicle of all time. And that says a lot. And so every month, every year, more and more of these things hit the road. And like you said, I agree with you. The values of the kits are just diluted and diluted and diluted. And this guy, I just don't see any way this guy gets his money or his time back on this investment that he put into this car. It's cool at a glance, but it's just not for me. So despite it being our star car, I don't believe in it. I don't want it. If you gave it to me, I would literally just put it up for sale. I don't give a rat's ass about it. So
neat, fun car. Don't know if it's really going to be worth a whole heck of a lot. What do you think it's going to, in 2 hours, what's the number going to be next to, the auction here?
Yeah, so it's at $39,000, and it's been at $39,000. It was like 35 all week, and it was 39 overnight. It is not really moving. I put 55, and I don't believe in that at all. I'm going to change my bid to, I'm going to go $45,000. I just don't know what to say, JP. There's so many options out there. If you don't like the red stripe on his black stripe on his silver car, you could open up Hemmings and find 20 more of these things that's exactly the color you want. So
is that stripe a vinyl stripe, or did he paint that on there?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's vinyl. These things are so cheap, JP. I don't think anybody but paid for paint. I'm sure it's a decal. Just guessing.
But look, I'm looking at this does look like a quality kit. I mean, the disc brakes and the aluminum frame. I mean, it looks like it's really quality stuff. I mean,
Factory 5 has been doing this for a long time. They are reputable, but I'd rather have, if I was going to bother to do this, I'd want a Shelby continuation that had all the period correct details the way it was.
Wouldn't that be twice as much money?
Absolutely.
Well, that's not really an apples to apples comparison then, is it? I mean,
I'm just saying, if I wanted one, I'd spend the money to get something that at least passed off as regular. Like if you were going to buy a GT3,
We'll have that conversation soon on coming up on Bid Nerds. All right, so you said 45. I'm with 45. You. I think this thing's. You said 45. Yeah, I'm going to go under and just say it's stalling out. I mean, there was a video.
It's at 39 right now. That's $6,000 away, just so you know.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's a video here. Maybe I can show this video here really quick. Is it playing here? Yeah, sorry, guys. Trying to go full screen. I mean, this to me says no sale. Like this poor guy's in the Northeast. That looks miserable. Okay, this is why nobody wants to live in the Northeast. Why do you live there, whoever you are? I mean, oh my God, my bones are cold just looking at this stupid video. I don't want this experience, and I'm a convertible guy. I'm all about bringing that visceral experience in, right? Getting the. I mean, this does not look fun. Now, if it were like in June or something like this, doing the exact same run that this guy's doing, that'd probably be fantastic. And that's when you sell a car like this in the Northeast.
sweltering heat, the humidity. He'd have the windshield
Yeah,
wipers.
early June is still nice,
100% humidity.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's just
Right.
screw this car.
What's your bid?
My bid is 33. I'm sorry,
No,
43.
it's
43.
There we
my
go.
bad.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, that's
All
what I
right.
meant.
Got it.
Yeah. All right,
right,
so that is the car of the day. It'll be interesting to see where that one lands. I do believe if it was spring, it would be a lot more. What's next?
All right, JP, let's jump over to cars and bids, and we're going to look at a 2007 Aston V Vantage. And JP, check this thing out. No reservation on this car, offered at Georgetown, Texas, with 43,000 miles on it. There are some minor modifications that are kind of cool. Let me read these to you. So he's got H&R lowering springs and wheel spacers. That is Polnick drop, if ever there was
buddy.
one. He also put aluminum intake manifold on this and engine tune. So there's some sort of program that he slapped on there. And then the wheels and the trim have been painted in titanium gunmetal gray. The car looks beautiful. I love this era for Aston Martin from a design standpoint. It's distinctly Aston Martin. I think it's a sexier car than a Ferrari, and I love Ferraris. I bleed Ferrari red. But these are prettier cars. They're absolutely gorgeous. That being said, the platform's totally outdated. The drivetrain's slightly under powder. Our car has 43,000 miles on it, but it does have a 6-speed manual transmission. The firing order of this V Aston actually sounds like an American car. It doesn't have that melodious high revving tune that you'd expect from, I don't know, like BMW or a Porsche or a Ferrari. This thing sounds like a Mustang going down the road, which really cracks me up. It's kind of butch in that regard. But these are nice cars. They're soft in the secondary market. They weren't expensive to begin with. Aston was trying to build a lower cost GT to try and steal some of the 911 market. I would say they failed in their endeavor, although they built a pretty car along the way. Probably a great value, sitting at $31,000 on 23 bids with less than 3 hours to go. Again, out of Texas, Georgetown, Texas. What do you think, JP? Any love for Aston Martin?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this is one of the prettiest cars of the era. I mean, you said it right. It's something that but they just don't drive. I mean, they feel every bit as heavy as they are. Yeah. The idea that this car was supposed to be targeting 911 is just silly. I mean, I could see it targeting 911 Turbo of the era because those are a little bit more GT than sports car because the suspension's a little different. But I mean, a 911 Turbo of the era can be made to be amazing, whereas this car, you can put coilovers and do all the stuff. You can just work your butt off, and it's never really going to be an awesome driving car. It is going to be fun to drive because you can row through the gears and all that fun stuff. Something I've always loved on these is the gauge package. I mean, they look like freaking Rolexes on your dashboard. I mean, that is like just a high end, just high end watches basically in everything that's a gauge, and that's just really cool. Yeah, and of course the James Bond movie at the time I do this every time we talk about one of these. I think he had the higher end one, but whatever. I just love the Vantage. I think it looks amazing, and I still kind of want one. But they don't go for much. It's amazing how. I mean, I don't know if there's a car that you can get that's as classy and as cool and as beautiful for the money, because this one is sitting at what, 30 something right now, 31,000.
Yeah. I mean, and then JP, we talk about the design language, right? So the inside and the outside. So you remember the Fisker Karma? Remember the electric car from Henrik Fisker? Mm-hmm. Fisker worked for Aston Martin, and he was the designer of this era of Aston Martin. So hats off, man. Really beautiful car. But the car is sitting, JP, at just. Oh, I lost my place. Here we go. It's at $31,000, 23 bids, 3 hours to go. So what do you think? Does this car break 40?
No way.
Right.
Not a chance. I mean, at 31, that seems like it's all the money. I know of one of these right now for sale. So I'm in Nevada. It's not far from, it's not in Nevada, but I know of one for sale with about the same miles and a better color combination. It's like the seal gray on black.
Right.
And, because the blue is just like, it's just not it's not a striking blue. But anyways, I know of one they're asking at a dealership less than 30.
Wow, that's crazy.
I mean, so But I have seen some of these. They, what is it? Haggerty's Market Report does say that this is a car that is rapidly rising. They said that they're appreciating at about 8% this year. They predict that. So whatever. I mean, I just happen, you get their stupid thing in the mail and it sits next to the bathroom. But I don't know. Reliability issues abound on these, and
you don't want to own this out of warranty for sure.
This is a car that literally could burn to the ground. I've heard of that happening. Our good friend over at, we all know God and Porsche of Las Vegas, are good friends over there. One of the sales managers there that used to work there when they did have a Aston Martin franchise at the time. Yeah. They said that it was not uncommon to respond to car fires in these. So.
Oh my goodness. That's awful. All right. So, maybe this car belongs in the snow belt,
Right. You put it out with snowballs. All right. Yeah, I don't know. So where do you think it's going to land? 31?
It's at 31 right now. I'm think, just based on the fact that it's clean Carfax, some tasteful mods, nice color, reasonable miles. Am I out of line, JP, and thinking it'll bring 35,000?
I mean, maybe. Yeah. I mean, it does have 23 bids, and there's some action on it. You said 35. I'm going to go right under you and go 33. I think that's the same thing that we did on the other one. Maybe it finds a couple $1,000s more. It'll probably get the 35, but it is a beautiful car. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. What's next?
Okay, JP, a car you and I both love. In fact, I think you have one very, very similar to this. We're going to look on Bring a Trailer at a 1997 Porsche 911 Carrera Cabriolet. This is a C4 cab. So, JP, yours is a non-Vario Ram two-wheel drive. This is a later Vario Ram four-wheel drive. I will say a few things about this car, and I'll let you take it away because you own one. I love that there's one little detail on these C4s from the 993 generation, and that is that the calipers are painted silver to denote that it's a four-wheel drive. I love the silver calipers on the car because you just don't see them very often. So it's just a little thing, but I think it looks really cool. I don't like this build. I don't see the point of a four-wheel drive cabriolet. Cabriolets don't seem like, four-season cars to me. And so why you got a four-season drivetrain? I don't like that it doesn't have sports seats. I don't like that it has supple leather, no limited slip differential because it's all-wheel drive, no sport shifter, no sport exhaust. This car was basically the pendulum swung the opposite direction of how I would build one for myself. That being said, I still love these cars. I really love your car. Your car is one of my favorite Porsches because it's yours, and I'll trick stuff that you've done to it. Your RS front nose clip, your seats, the exhaust system, your little skid, the stone guards on the side. I love your car. This car has potential, but it's not for me. 53,000 miles out of Portland, Oregon. Otherwise, no nonsense shit all over it, but it's a fine example. These cars don't bring a lot of money. If this were a coupe, it'd be worth, I think, quite a bit more. But convertibles are going to languish. This car will not see $60,000. JP, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, no way does it see $60,000. I mean, look, you're right. I do have a cab, and I call everyone that doesn't like cabrios cabriophobes. I've coined that phrase and or that term, and I enjoy bestowing it upon people who are dumb enough to not like convertibles, but love coupes. It's the other way around. People that love coupes hate convertibles, but people that love convertibles also love coupes. So it's just a weird kind of like binary worldview, or just we're open-minded. Anyways, this car, ditto on almost everything you said. I mean, it just really is pretty much the worst possible build of a 993. Right? A C4. Look, the reason why it was a C4, at the time, all-wheel drive was just a thing. Everybody's excited about all-wheel drive. This car was not built for weather. It wasn't built to go in the snow. It was built for, increased, better handling, and a more forgiving handling. I think that's the thing is that, the 993, the air-cooled car, this is the end of the air-cooled era, and it was a time where technology was a big thing. And the rear-engined 911s were still in a 993 still required some skill to drive them. I mean, they would get you in trouble.
The engineer did such a great job.
I know. I know. No, hold on. I'm not. You're going the wrong way. I'm not making the argument that is actually the case. I'm making the argument that was the perceived notion. It was at the time the perception was that the engine's in the back and you're going to spin these out and everyone's going to die. So we're going to add increased traction in the front, and that's why they put it in the turbo, and that's why they continue. That's why they make them to this day. There's no real reason for an all-wheel drive 911. I think it's dumb. And I'm especially on this car. Now, with the one caveat that this one is in Oregon, I don't know if it was originally bought in Oregon. If it was, that kind of makes sense because it hardly ever snows there, but it rains all the time. And you could, on a summer day, be out driving in the mountains and find yourself in a situation where now it's all wet and slimy. And that's going to be an argument for someone in Oregon in their North Face jacket to go, I need the all-wheel drive one because I have an all-wheel drive. I'm one of those people that likes Audis, which are weird-ass idiot morons that like Audis. They're all-wheel drive, and so why would you buy one of those stupid things? This car started life in Chicago, Illinois, so that kind of makes sense why they did an all-wheel drive. And the supple leather is just hideous. But you could make this car kind of But I mean, at $44,000 for a '97, I think the reason why it's that high is that it's just low miles. I mean, that's just the bottom line. This is a low.
53,000 miles. It's the right color, silver black. Love those little calipers. Super cool detail.
Get rid of those stupid Cup 2 wheels. Put some either coilovers or just do the ROW, MO30 Bilstein setup and bring it down to the right ride height. And you're going to have a fantastic summer cruiser.
Yeah. So here's the thing, JP. The guy's trying to sell a convertible out of the Pacific Northwest in the dead of winter around the rest of the world, the rest of the country. I think this car could possibly bring in the mid to high 50s, but at this time of the year, I don't think it will. And so I'm really going to go low and say $51,000, and it sells because the guy's trying to unload it. So
I think like it's anything over 40 is high, even at the low miles. So to go another $6,000. It's possible in 3 hours. I'm gonna say 50 and just be surprised if it even breaks 50. I think all right in the under.
Okay, there you go. All right,
JP. I hope it does. That bodes well for my car, right?
Absolutely. All right, JP. I don't have any notes on this, but I have a trivia question for you before we jump over to our next car, our next lot. JP, what do Volkswagen and Maserati have in common?
What do Volkswagen and Maserati have in common? I don't know, Michael D. What do Volkswagen and Maserati have in common?
Both of these cars in the 60s and 70s had a propensity for naming their cars after winds.
That is interesting. Scirocco's and Corrados.
Both companies had a Bora in their lineup, and we are looking at a 1965 Maserati Mistral, which is named after a wind. One wind broke more often than the other. There you go. So this car came with two different engines, JP, the 3500 and the 3700. This is definitely the upgrade. It made about 20 more horsepower. This is an alloy-bodied, aluminum-bodied car, so this is a coach-built car from the mid-60s. It's a 3.7-liter inline-six. What else can I... It's a 5-speed ZF transmission. That's a beefy German gearbox. And these cars bring ridiculous money. It would not be strange to see upwards of $300,000 paid for a perfect example of a Maserati Mistral with this drivetrain. Our car does have like an older refurbishment and presents beautifully. Offered out of Dawsonville, Georgia. It does show 82,000 miles, but really the true mileage is unknown. On the assumption that this is a numbers matching car with a twin plug head, a Becker stereo, Borani knockoff wheels. This car has all the accoutrement you would expect on a supercar in period. but it's not free of flaws as you were just showing there. This looks like it'd be a really nice example. You could probably show it at a regional concourse, but I don't think this is a national concourse example at the moment. So JP, what do you think? Does this car, do you like this sort of early glass hatchback design? Is that cool or what?
This thing is gorgeous. Are you kidding me? I'm not a big fan of Maseratis from the era, but classy and beautiful, and all the Italian things that you would expect. I mean, look at this. Look at that gauge package. Look at that interior. I mean, having that look at you while you're cruising down the road. I have no idea what this thing is like to drive. And even when it breaks down, and you're waiting for the wrecker, as they would say, you're not going to mind, because you're looking at that dashboard and you're going to be like, this is just all right. Well, I'm hanging out in here. I'm going to have a cigarette because I've got a cigarette lighter, and I'm just going to look cool with my Italian suit, and I'm going to lean against the car and wait for Victoria's Secret models to just pull up and offer me a ride to wherever I'm going, because I'm sure that's what happens when you own a car as beautiful as this. I am struck by the beauty of this thing. I really, admittedly, you're the Italian car guy, so it's always fun to hear and learn about these things. I had no idea they were worth quite that much. And given what you say about this, I am surprised that the bid currently is so low. What's going on here? Is this going to have a late run? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, and listen, last night it was at 73,000. This morning it's at 95. I think there are people waiting in the wings. I'm going to go with the low end of the market and still guess.
Love this hatchback. Oh my god.
Yeah. I'm still going to guess $164,000, which is kind of low end. Mid range would be closer to 200, and the high range would be just under 300 in today's market. So we'll see if this car has a rally and meets its reserve.
I love that in the trunk under there with the spare tire, and I know the wheels are knockoff, so you literally use that mallet to knock the wheels off. But really, the tools that an old Maserati comes with, not a screwdriver, not some pliers, but a freaking hammer. That makes sense for an old Italian car. I can't do an Italian accent, so I won't try.
Hey, what's the matter for your bumper?
What's the matter with the car? We fix with ham.
Yeah. Oh, just add a little olive oil and garlic. It'll be delicious.
Spaghetti. Okay, so what do you think this car is going to go for? You said, did you give me a number already? Did you say 160 something?
And I'm talking about pulling it out of your butt. But there you go, 160,000 for a Maserati Mistral with the upgraded 3.7 liter drivetrain.
That would be one hell of a late drive in an hour. But it's not like we haven't seen it, and it's not like these higher end cars don't do that. Yeah. So I am going to bet the under just because I don't know. I'm going to say 150. And
good guess. That's a good guess.
What a beautiful car for $150,000, though. I mean, yeah. Wow.
I would say, JP, this car probably weighs being an alloy body. It's probably like a 2,800 pound car. It's an inline six that makes 255 horsepower with a 5-speed. Synchro mesh transmission and fuel injection. It probably drives all right. I mean, you could do a lot worse. And again, that car is 55, 56 years old, man. That's crazy. Awesome.
Love it.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay. Something a little younger and dearer to our hearts is this 1991. We'll go back over to cars and bids, JP. 1991 Honda Prelude Si 4-wheel steering. I will tell the audience, JP, when I was picking my cars, I looked at this thing, and when I saw it had an automatic transmission, I passed over it. Yeah. But I'm actually glad that you stopped on it because, hey, man, upon closer inspection, this car, with the exception of stereo head unit change, is absolutely bone stock. There are no modifications to this car at all. Just 107,000 miles out of Swansea, Maryland. Don't like the 4-speed automatic, but I do like the 2.1 liter inline 4. And this is a 4-wheel steering car. That was an option. It wasn't mandatory. So 140 horsepower, 135 horsepower, 140 horsepower, 135 pound of torque. No reserve auction, and man, is that Radwood or what? Look at that thing. White aluminum wheels, pop-up headlights, cloth, but very sporty seats. I do remember liking these cars in period, but I never owned one and I've never driven one. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you had a daughter and you were wealthy in the '80s, this is what you bought her. I mean, it's
Right.
a white on black. You know that what I loved about Preludes of the era, and really CRXs and all the Hondas, this kind of generation, the '88 to what would it be like '93, is how low the dash was. That was something that really struck you
Right.
when you got in these things. Is that you really kind of felt like you could see everything. Obviously not a convertible, but it had an experience of driving these things that maybe as a short guy, I extra appreciated that. But it just really felt like the cabin was just so much more advanced than almost anything else of the era. It was more like a cockpit than most cars of the contemporary, especially inexpensive cars.
So I have a take on that. And in 1994, a guy who made a living winning races for Honda is a Brazilian Formula One driver named Ayrton Senna. And in 1994, he perished in an auto accident racing in Imola, Italy. And the Formula One cars of that era, JP, reminiscent to the road cars of that time, had that low in front. In other words, when he was driving, you could see from the side profile, you could see his shoulder and all of his helmet. You could see his elbow would come up if he was doing an extreme turn. His elbow would rise up inside the cockpit, and you see all that. And when Senna passed, he hit a wall, and the front tire of his car broke off with the hub attached, and he was impaled by the axle that was still attached to the wheel, and it went through the helmet. And since then, the cockpits on the race cars, especially Indy cars and Formula One cars, have come up to a point now when you look at a Formula One driver, his eye line in the middle of his helmet is just over the front and surrounding cockpit. All of his shoulders and his neck and his arms and his hands are all inside the car. And when you get into a road car, a contemporary road car, the door height and the dash heights have risen like race cars to protect the drivers. That's my opinion on that, is to create a safer structure, to get you lower in behind that door so that in the event of an impact or a collision, you are protected by steel beams and not just glass, and you're free to the open air. That's my theory on that. I don't know if there's any merit to it, but the trend of the two have paralleled one another, and I wonder if one begat the other,
Yeah. I mean, that certainly makes sense. Looking at the pictures there, we just saw a shot. If you're watching, if you're just listening on a podcast, you may not have seen it, but the head was off of this thing, and it's only got 107,000 miles on it. And looking at the engine pictures, it looks pretty cruddy. Like the exterior and interior of this car looks amazing. It looks like it could use a good detail, but the engine, I mean, here's a shot of the engine again. I mean, it just looks dirty and grimy. And we got these shots over here where, look at that, the head is, so I mean, did this thing lose a head gasket, and did they redo it? I mean, what is going on here?
That's a bummer.
And it's not really in the description. I suppose if it's had that head work done, that's a good thing, because these are incredibly reliable cars. But you got to wonder, why in the world would a Honda Prelude with 100,000 miles need head work? This is a car that you shouldn't have to. You could pour sand in the head and use two-stroke gas, and the thing will get 200,000 miles. I mean, it's just
interesting.
These are unbelievably reliable. That's really interesting.
Well, we're on the home stretch with this one, JP. This auction actually has less than 43 minutes to go. It has had some bids this morning, so it jumped up last night from say $3,400. It's at $4,000 on 27 bids. So there's definitely some action on that. The big question then is this car going to break $5,000? And I'm going to say it's just going to land at $5,000. I'm going to leave my bid right there and think that it's got another $1,000 to go, and that's it. But there's definitely some action. So there could be some weird late surge because of the low miles if nobody else is bothered or worried about the headwork.
Yeah, where is this car coming from? I'm trying to...
Swansea, Maryland.
Maryland. Okay, I mean, so there's definitely corrosion there, and that makes sense. The underside of the car didn't really look as bad as I'm just really tripped out about that engine thing. Yeah, I mean, the auction bid increments, I mean, there is some late auction, but you're talking about $100 bids. Right. So we're not seeing... But, there could be a knockout punch here. I'm actually going to go just a little over and go 55. I think this thing...
Wow.
I mean, that's not a lot of money, and this is a car that you could conceivably do a a swap. You know, the right person buying this car, it's it's not like a 993 Tiptronic where it's literally impossible to swap a manual, and not literally, but it's it's really hard to do. This car, swapping it out, I mean, you put the pedal in. Yeah, it's not hard. And mechanics love to tear this kind of stuff apart. And this car with a manual transmission is a $12,000-$15,000 car. More, you think?
Yeah. I don't know. It could be. I could say at least 10. My original bid on this car was 58. And your head took $800 off my bid, so I lowered my bid down. But there is a lot of action, so we'll see. You know, you might get this one. It's on.
I mean, think about a Prelude Si with all-wheel steering and 100,000 miles, white on black like this, in pretty much unmolested. If it were a manual transmission, and you look at the comments, everyone's like, "Oh, I wish it was a manual. Oh, I wish it was a manual." I did the exact same thing you did when I saw it, but I did think it was worthy of the conversation. But I think the $4,000 bid with less than an hour to go is indicative of the same thing that we're all saying. But I still think it could. I don't know. Some kid with a garage, throw a manual in this thing, you double your money. There it is. All right. Well, that's just the kind of poor advice we give on Bid Nerds every day, Monday through Friday during the 9 o'clock-ish hour Pacific time. This is your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer. We do appreciate you guys hanging out with us and nerding out and talking about all these weird cars. Let us know what you guys think. Get in those comments and tell us that we're idiots. Tell us that we don't know what we're talking about. Tell us that our bid numbers are just ridiculous. Tell us what you think these cars are going to bid for. We'd sure like to know what you guys think, and make sure you subscribe, like, and share. We are a new channel, and so we're looking for your help to get the word out. Michael Deeb, anything you want to say before we close it out for the day, for Thursday?
Thank you, JP. Good show.
All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow for the last show of the week. We have some new content coming. Look for that. We'll talk very soon. See you tomorrow.